Hi, my name is Jessica Bauer. I'm in Bio 163, and this is Lab 1, Directional Terms. Okay, so the first two things are right and left. And so the first one is right. So the right shoulder is to the right of the sternum, and the left shoulder is to the left of the sternum. The next two are inferior and superior. Inferior meaning below, superior meaning above. An example of inferior is that the let me go down some. Inferior meaning the feet are inferior to the knees, it's below it, and superior, sorry it's kind of loud, and superior meaning the collarbone is superior to the abdomen. Then the next two is anterior and posterior. Anterior meaning, let me turn some. Anterior meaning in front, posterior meaning behind. Whew, cold. An example of anterior would be that your nose is anterior to your ear. And posterior, we'll just turn it around and say your ear is posterior to your nose. Then the next two is dorsal and ventral. Dorsal meaning, turn them again, back. Ventral meaning front. And then an example of dorsal would be, let me turn them, excuse me. Dorsal would be the occipital bone is dorsal to the mandible. And then, sorry, I just had to play with this jaw. And then ventral, an example of that would be, if he had one, the navel would be ventral to the spine. Switch hands real quick. Okay, the next two is proximal and distal. Proximal meaning nearest, distal meaning distant. An example of proximal would be that the elbow is proximal to the wrist. So, so the elbow is above the wrist, and the knee is distal to the hip, so the knee is below the hip. Lateral and medial. Lateral meaning away and medial meaning toward. An example of lateral would be that the ear is lateral to the midline, whereas the eye is medial to the midline, so the eye is closer to the midline of the body. Superficial meaning close to the surface, and deep meaning toward the interior body. Superficial could be where the skin is superficial to the muscle below the skin, and deep would be the lungs underneath the rib cage. So that is the directional terms. Thank you.